Welcome to the Inside Carolina Postgame show. I'm Tommy Ashley. That's Dewey Burke. We're sponsored by Johnny T-Shirt, JohnnyT-Shirt.com. Dewey, if you were playing bingo, which would be most unlikely to be on your card today? A blowout of Florida State, or the fact, like we were talking about before we came on, it took that Florida State team 30 minutes to get 10 rebounds against North Carolina today. I don't know if I've heard of a stat as sick as that one all year long.
It's a wild stat. Yeah, as I said to you, I was texting with a couple of my friends, their teammates about that. Like that, they had 9 rebounds. At one point, it was 29-9, which is a baffling statistic. Look, the first whatever it was, 7-8 minutes of this game, it was within one possession. We were, not really getting a lot of stops, going back and forth, and then really Elliott, his effort level and being first to the floor and hustle really elevated us, and we just took off. Our defense tightened. We started to move the ball better, got great shots, made shots, and I think just took their heart real early there, and played a really efficient, workman-like, as Billis was saying, blue-collar game. I mean, we guarded the hell out of them. Even coming out of halftime, we guarded them really nicely, and just we're clicking. Great to see solid minutes from Trimble. Elliott, I think, has really figured it out in terms of running the team, but also seeking his own and being creative. And then just his hustle and defense as well. So, workmanlike effort. Yeah, we beat their ass. I mean, to be straight, that's what took place there.
Yeah, without question. I like Leonard Hamilton told uh, Ms. Sims at half, they're beating our butts on the boards, and they did. Something, Dewey, that I wanted to talk to you about. You've been in these ACC tournament scenarios. It's 3 games in 3 days if you have the double bye these days. But when I look at the minutes today, and this is one thing that I think Carolina really needed to be able to do, and they played that way, is RJ had 30, Ingram had 28, Cadeau had 28, Cormac and Baycott both had 26. That is as perfect a performance as you can get in that regard as well for Carolina today, because you got to have those legs on Sunday if you get there, and you don't want to be pushing the guys upwards of 40 minutes in round one.
No, that's right. And when you speak to RJ, in a close game, he's going to play all or 38, 39 of the minutes. And so, um, to play a full 25% less minutes than he typically would is very impactful on the legs, and even more for some of the other guys, as you noted. So, they'll be able to get some rest. You would have hated for that to be nip and tuck because of exactly the reason you've described, but they'll be able to rest their legs. No starters out there really under the 4-minute timeout, which is very helpful. So, you look across the line from a field goal percentage and 3-point percentage perspective and free throws. I mean, we shot the ball great. So I mean, what are the bullet points? We shot it great. We moved the ball well. We out hustled and out rebounded them, and we guarded them like crazy and held them under 70. Yeah, I mean, this is a very complete performance against the team that's dangerous because they're so big and long and can be disruptive, but we never let that impact us. We just took the fight right to them and played as well as we've played. I mean, that was really a sound beating.
Yeah, and Florida State, and we're talking with Dewey Burke for the Inside Carolina post game. Shout out to Johnny T-Shirt. Let me get those in. Johnny T-Shirt and JohnnyT-Shirt.com, and Congruity. Go to congruityhr.com/Tar Heels for your small to mid-size business needs. They can help you out. Both those companies, great companies. Take care of them. They take care of us at Inside Carolina. Um, One part of Florida State is the biggest team. They're the longest team, and to see Carolina do the work. But I thought the stretch there at the end of the first half, when I think they got 4 or 5 offensive rebounds, just working them, working them, working them, I think they kind of just snatched it out of Florida State. I mean, the game was getting out of hand anyway, but when that series of play, I think it was a 45-second possession for Carolina, just sort of snatched Florida State's soul, and Leonard Hamilton could do nothing about it watching. As a player, I don't know if you've ever been on the other end of that, but as a player, being out there and seeing team just get offensive rebound after offensive rebound, and then end up converting. I mean, that's as bad as it gets if you're on the other end.
It is, yeah. I mean, I think people will agree with this sentiment. There weren't a lot of games when I was playing where we got outworked because we had that Hansbrough guy. The best I can give you, just off the top of my head, is that's what it was like in pickup in the summertime when you were playing against Tyler. It was possessions like that, right? I mean, it's just like this guy is outworking all five of us, and there's not a whole lot we can do about it. So it has to be demoralizing, not only to the staff but to the Florida State guys looking at each other after giving up. I think it was either 4 or 5 offensive rebounds on that possession that ended in a Baycott layup where he, demonstrably celebrated. He had a bloody lip and all that stuff. I mean, it's a mentality that this team has shown really since mid-December. And I remember having a conversation, you and I, on the podcast, where I was not happy with them switching 1 through 5. I thought it created mismatches. Baycott found himself on scoring guards a lot, especially in that Kentucky game. And we just talked openly about how we didn't think the way we were defending conceptually was working. And then they adjusted. They now switch 1 through 3 and then fight over everything else. Big stay on bigs. And when you combine what appears to me to be a sound philosophical approach with how hard these guys play, and we've talked about it a lot, especially Cormac and Harrison. I mean, those guys bring the energy from an effort perspective, and Elliott as well. Historically, you wouldn't have said about RJ, like the first thing out of your mouth wouldn't have been, gosh, he plays so hard. You would say he's very skilled. He's an elite scorer, especially at the high school level, and now at the college level, a little bit undersized and certainly got picked on defensively last year. And Mondo, at times we did say that. We thought his effort was great, but it's waned at times. But those 3, Ryan, Ingram, and Cadeau, are the heartbeat and engine of our defense, and their effort level is contagious. And then you bring Seth in off the bench, who guards you like crazy and uses his athleticism. So I'm really happy with what happened from mid-December to now mid-March in how we guard, both philosophically and then just the level of effort we give.
Let's talk a little bit about the trio of guards. To your point, RJ, a lot of times when guys average 20 plus, they work hard, but it's usually on the offensive end. And then they loaf it a little bit on the defensive end so they don't tire out. To your point, he does not do that. But let's talk about Seth Trimble for a second. And I said earlier in the season, he's just tremendously valuable to this team because of the break he can give Elliott or RJ there. And you saw at the end of the game when Elliott and RJ are both sitting out, getting those rested minutes, Trimble's running the point. How important is that just to have that safety net? I tried to get Hubert to talk about it the other day. Halftime or sideline reporter tried to get him to talk about a specific player, and he defers to the team, defaults to everybody. But Trimble, what he brings, not only the defense, but the ability to handle the ball. And then he'll punch one on you too if you're not careful, like he did today.
Yeah, and look, Elliott's dealt with foul trouble quite a bit this season, and so you have someone that you trust that you can bring off. And I don't think coming into the season we knew exactly what we had with Seth, other than him being a tremendous athlete, and we would joke amongst ourselves that he might be playing the wrong sport. Can you imagine that guy as a wide receiver or a safety or a corner? But that aside, he's really developed a very clear role. He comes in off the bench and immediately picks up the other team's best wing scorer. His ball pressure is great. His lateral quickness allows him to both pressure without getting beat off the bounce, which a lot of times guys can't do both. They can try to pressure you, but if you get around them, then they're beat laterally, and he does not get beat laterally. He's got more comfortable scoring the ball, shooting that little mid-range, making free throws, and then doing what, as we said, what we knew he had, which is that explosiveness at the rim. And he's one of those few guys that can get into the paint and then just jump and then figure it out later. There are only so many guys, like that I played with, Rayshon Terry was that way. Dave Noel was that way. When you're really a freak and you get close enough to the rim, you can just elevate and then figure it out at that point. So yeah, he was terrific today. Billis was singing his praises. But yeah, other than maybe he passed up an NFL career as a safety or a receiver, sure glad he's with us.
Hey, he's still got time. Last thing I want to talk to you about, and we're talking with Dewey Burke. Carolina wins by 20. I'm bad at math. 25. That's a lot. An ACC quarterfinal. A game that was not in question about mid to two-thirds of the way through the first half. Elliot Cadeau, man. I mean, I tweeted it kind of joking. I would give him a pass on the defensive end because how valuable he is for this team on the offensive end. And you mentioned the foul trouble he got in early, but I mean, he's diving on the ball. He's I forget who it was for Florida State that just loafed for a split second there. And Elliott was able to get around him and get his hands on the ball and get that jump up. This kid's growth, we knew he was good coming in, but I don't think we knew he was this good. Heaven help the basketball world if he develops a consistent
That's right.
40% three-point shot, 35. But Dewey, just talk about what he does. I mean, the passing, the effort, the joy. He could not be a better fit for North Carolina.
He couldn't. And we've talked about this a lot over the years. Playing point guard at Carolina as a freshman is a lot. It's very challenging mentally because you have so many responsibilities. You're calling the sets that come from the coach. You have to execute them. You have to get the ball to your scorers in positions to be successful. You have to call the defense. You have to make sure you're taking outlet passes on both scores and misses and pushing the pace. That's maybe your number one responsibility, or certainly when you played for Coach Williams, you are solely responsible for the pace that we want to play at. And then you're also the mouthpiece. So you're getting spoken to the most by the head coach and the staff. So there's a lot coming at you. And so I think if we went back and watched the game from November, you would see him still processing everything at that point, right? He wasn't able to just play free. And that's what we have now, right? Because he understands what he's supposed to do, and he can just let his athleticism and his ability just be. And so what you get from that is a kid who plays extremely hard, not afraid to get on the floor, as evidenced by they kept showing his knees, like not afraid of floor burns, not afraid to scrap. Loves going to the rim aggressively, loves to share the basketball first, pass first guy. I mean, the only two things you could complain about are that he doesn't have a reliable outside shot that he trusts yet anyway, and that he has a propensity to foul. And that's just part of being young. But his maturation and Hubert's trust in him to just say, look, you're going to play 32 minutes as long as you're not in foul trouble. Go run our team. And his ability for the light bulb to have gone off, probably his best game today in terms of just overall output. And I love that you mentioned the joy. I mean, I think he actually is a big spark plug for this team, even as a freshman. I mean, RJ's a pretty level, emotional guy. Mondo's not a huge talker. So I'm back to saying it's Harrison, Cormac, and Elliott really seem to be the emotional heartbeat of our team. And it's pretty impressive that he's just 19.
Yeah, some of his actions, he was over there on the scorer's table today waiting to get in, jumping up and down for his teammates. That you see like I said, I can soapbox for a second. A lot of this world's not joy, right? We've seen guys on the court, if we just relate it to sports, that don't look like they're having fun. We saw Carolina doing that for 2 or 3.
For sure.
And then you see Elliott, the pure joy in the pictures and things like that. It is infectious to everybody. It's infectious to the people that cover it. It's infectious to his teammates on the court. But yeah, he is a special, special player. Got to stay on the court though. Got to stay. And the thing about his shot is he's going to work on it. I mean,
he's got it. I mean, if you watch his high school tapes, right, he's got it. It's just one of those things that he's not comfortable yet, right? So he's probably, in golf you call it the yips. I'm not calling him that way, but he hasn't shot it enough confidently enough that you can see the hesitation, right? He's in his own head about shooting. once he rips that Band-Aid off, which may or may not happen this year, it's more likely after a great summer of work. He's fully capable. I mean, you watch his high school tapes, he's hitting step backs off the bounce, coming off ball screens and ripping threes. I mean, it's there. You rarely are a 5-star recruit if you don't have more of a complete package offensively. I just think it's between the years at this point, and a good summer of work, and I would suspect he'll develop that.
Yeah, and just don't tell him that he can't go left, because he went left repeatedly on Florida State today. But the Duke shot that he hit, when he's not thinking about it, let it go. He gets to that point, he's going to be really special. I got a question from the chat, Dewey, and then we're going to get out of here fairly quickly. Might be a little premature, but John Causey in the chat says, are we, as in North Carolina, playing up to the ceiling, or is there another level? I'm not sure how they can play much better than they did today all around, but your take.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to nitpick, I think Armando still struggles with really significant size and length. You saw a couple possessions there around the rim where he got stripped or blocked, or so really big teams still bother him, as do really big physical defensive guards bother RJ some. What you saw in the Duke game, Proctor did a pretty good job on RJ overall in that game, and not having him go crazy as he can do. Yeah, so look, I mean, the types of teams that will give us trouble are going to be big scoring athletic guards, and then teams with elite size that can bother Armando. But right now, the way we're defending is elite, and we're going to be in every game. The way the ball moves is elite, and so if we make shots, there's not a team we can't beat. That said, this was a pretty complete performance.
So what's it like for folks that haven't been there? You play on noon on whatever day, Thursday, I guess it is today. I still can't wrap my head around the schedule, and it's been a while. But unlike in the past, or back in the day, it's noon today and then 7 tomorrow. So to walk us through before we get out of here, what is this team doing right now? Getting out of the showers, doing their press availability. Then what happens next before game time tomorrow?
Sure. Yeah. Off your feet, eat, hydrate. If they have the ability to take an ice bath. I remember when we were playing in tournaments, Jonas would fill up the tub in his hotel room, and guys would take turns jumping in the ice bath. They may have a better program these days. It's been almost 20 years, and I remember his entire hotel room was soaked, guys traipsing in and out. So you do as much treatment and recovery as you can. This is the only time where you never watch clips of the game you just played, at least when I was playing. So in other words, you play a regular ACC game, the next practice, typically before practice, you would sit and watch tape, and you'd go through the clips that the coaches had pulled for teachable moments or things we did really well, or whatever emphasis Coach Williams wanted to lay out. Because you're playing every day, I would suspect they won't watch even a second of that tape. Not because we blew them out. It's just you're on to the next. You don't really need to watch that tape. You're on. So when they go to their meal, which will be roughly a lunch, they will likely watch clips of both potential opponents. And one assistant will each have a scout. So if Freddie's got, I don't even know who he might play. Who
Pitterwake. Pitterwake, and
yeah.
I think is just underway maybe right now.
Okay, yeah. So if Freddie has Pitt and Lebo has Wake, or however it works out, we will have clips prepared. Those coaches will probably still be at the game. So maybe Sean, I'm making it all up, but maybe Sean and Hubert review the clips on both, just to say, hey, if we play Wake, this is what we're thinking about. Play Pitt, this is what we're thinking about. And they'll watch those clips. Then we'll know who our opponent is when they get back together for dinner. And then you'll review the full scouting report, watch the clips again. They probably will have cut clips from the ACC tournament game between Pitt and Wake to show, whatever sets they were running or whatever actions they were successful with. And then you'll watch those clips again tomorrow at breakfast. You watch them again at pregame meal. So by the time you get the game, you will have watched clips and gone over Scouting Report 4 times. And there's no reason to spend any time talking about Florida State because you're on to the next. So presumably they'll also have a shoot around tomorrow somewhere. I don't know if they'll be able to get into the arena or not. It depends. So yeah, that's what it'll look like.
Yeah, ACC tournament time, hectic. 3 games in 3 days. If you win, Carolina in either Pitt or Wake tomorrow, 7 o'clock or so from Washington, D.C. That's Dewey Burke. I'm Tommy Ashley. It's been the Inside Carolina postgame, Johnny T-shirt, and Congruity. As always, folks, we'll be back tomorrow evening at some point. Thanks, Dewey.
Yes, sir. Can we say go Bearcats?
You can say it.
Let's go. Coach Miller needs this one tonight against Baylor. So Tar Heel fans, be rooting for Wes. He needs this one tonight.
There you go. Watch Cincinnati rather than those other 2 teams in the triangle.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. Peace out.